Good morning. This is Teresa Nikas, and this is today's Quiet Echo. A reader wrote to me last week, genuinely upset about a single word. We had run a column in which somebody used the word impactful, and she wanted me to know, as the editor, how impactful is not a real word, how it is an abomination, and how I ought to be a little ashamed of myself for letting it into the paper. She signed off quite certain I would agree with her and fix it. People write to me like this more often than you might think. They come to the editor the way you would go to a judge, looking for a ruling. Is this a word? Is this one correct? You settle it for us. And for the longest time, I played the part. I own a good red pen and a whole shelf of usage guides, and I enjoy them both, truly. But somewhere along the way, I learned an uncomfortable little thing about my own line of work. I am not the judge of the language. I never was. Nobody is. The language does not answer to me, nor to my usage guides, nor even to the dictionary itself. It answers to you. Let me show you what I mean. The very first dictionary of the English language was a slim little book called A Table Alphabeticall, printed away back in 1604 by a defrocked country priest named Robert Caudry. He meant it as a kindness, a help for ladies and, in his own words, other unskillful persons who might trip over the hard words. It held 2,543 of them, and there was the whole of the English language one careful, learned man believed worth writing down, in the very age of Shakespeare. And here is the lovely joke buried inside of it. While poor Caudry sat there carefully setting down his 2,000 words, Shakespeare, just a few miles off, was minting brand new ones faster than any list on earth could ever hope to catch. And so were the sailors and the market women and the schoolboys of London, not one of whom had thought to ask Caudry's permission or anybody else's. The language was already rushing on past him before his ink was even dry on the page. A glover's son from a little market town was, at the very same hour, making up more of English than the first dictionary would ever hold. Now, some 400 years later, the great Oxford Dictionary holds more than 500,000 words, and the honest lexicographers among them will be the very first to tell you the true number is well beyond any hope of counting, and climbing higher every single day. And not one of those words ever got in there by decree. Every last one of them arrived in exactly the same way impactful arrived. Somebody perfectly ordinary said it out loud, and then somebody else said it, and then enough people said it for long enough, and the dictionary simply had no choice left but to hurry in behind them and write the thing down. Now let me confess a lost battle of my own. For years and years I struck the word hopefully out of every sentence where it meant, hopefully, it will not rain. I knew, the way editors know things, it was wrong, and the word properly meant full of hope, and no other way. I fought it. And then one ordinary afternoon I heard my own mother say it, in the supposedly wrong way, and then I noticed the finest writers I knew saying it too, and I understood, all at once. I was the last soul left on a battlefield everyone else had gone home from years ago. So I put down the red pen, because the town had voted, and I had simply been too stubborn, forgive me, too slow to hear it. And there's what a dictionary truly is, not a book of law, a record of what the people have already decided among themselves. The lexicographer is not the ruler of the language. She is its secretary, hurrying along behind a great crowd of millions, scribbling down whatever they say, which means the word my poor reader so hated is a real and true word, whether the two of us happen to like it or not, because the people voted with their mouths, and the people always win. I do not have to enjoy impactful. I get to keep my own small preferences, and believe me, I do keep them. But I would be lying to the dear woman if I pretended I held the authority to strike her word from the language, because I do not, and neither does she, and neither, in the end, does the dictionary. I find this humbling, and then, a moment later, I find it perfectly wonderful, because it means the language was never handed down to us from on high, out of some grand office of correctness. It rises up out of us, all of us, the whole talking town of the English-speaking world, and it always has. Every single word you have ever used is a word somebody just as ordinary as you once dared to say out loud, before it was ever official. So the next time a person informs you a word you love is not a real word, you may tell them, with my full blessing as your editor, they are quite mistaken about how any of this actually works. You are not a guest in the English language. You are one of its authors. You have been quietly writing it your whole life long, Every single time you opened your mouth, Caudry listed 2,000 words. You and the rest of us wrote the other 500,000. So keep writing. The front porch is open. What is a word you love and someone once told you it was not a real word? Come and tell us. And if we get something wrong, tell us, and we will run the correction. The readers of the Cedar Valley News are gathering to share their stories and keep company with respect and no party lines. Come sit with us. I will put the link in the show notes. This is Teresa Nikas, your host for today's Quiet Echo. Thanks for listening. Quiet Echo is part of the fictional Cedar Valley News series, written by Evan Swenson, publisher, and Claude Marshall, A.I. developmental editor. While the town of Cedar Valley is fictional, the history is real. The first single-language English dictionary, A Table Alphabeticale by Robert Caudry, was printed in 1604 during Shakespeare's lifetime and contained 2,543 words. The sole surviving copy of the first printing is held at the Bodleian Library, Oxford. Today, the Oxford English Dictionary defines more than 500,000 words, and lexicographers note the true number of words in English cannot be precisely counted. Dictionaries add new words when a word shows widespread and sustained use, not by decree. Sources include the Bodleian Library, the University of Chicago Press edition of Caudry, the Oxford English Dictionary, and Merriam-Webster.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open. This is Cedar Valley News.